new generation. We are the youth of the nation. High in the sky. We are the new generation. Leader.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Leaders Dialogue Show. Leaders Dialogue Show is a show that features renowned leaders to share insights on matters of leadership, and we are glad to have Mr. John Ng'ang'a. Welcome to Leaders Dialogue Show.
Thank you.
Mr. John Ng'ang'a is a renowned author. He's a renowned public speaker. He has authored 10 books, mainly on matters of leadership. He formerly was a manager in Kenya Shell. Once again, welcome back.
Thank you.
Matters of planning. Is the Bible against planning?
This is a very good question, especially given that New Year's resolutions, New Year's plans, is the Bible against it? I think it's good to start by saying the Bible is not only not against it, it actually supports it.
Yeah.
You are expected by the scriptures, like we saw in our previous program, to accurately plan. Let me start by saying why. Prayer is only possible if you have looking ahead and seeking God's hand in it. In fact, in order not to see the importance of planning, James says, don't say I'll do this and that tomorrow. Involve God. People have misunderstood that to mean it's wrong then to be talking about where you're going tomorrow. No. He is saying plan, but be aware the plan can only be made possible by God. I intend to get a degree if the Lord wills. Some people think it's religious language, but that's the truth. We plan, but only God makes it happen. But the same God who makes it happen wants us to plan. So therefore, the Bible expects us to plan, but does not expect us to plan outside of God. You know, I encourage young people to write a personal, what I call PDP, personal development plan. When I mentor any young man I mentor, I always want to help him develop his personal development plan. That goes up to the age of 80. I want him to look at his life between now and the age of 80. And they are in their 20s in the university. So it is 60 years or so away. And we want to look at it. And I show them that the scriptures expect them to do like that. Joseph's major problem was the way he handled his vision. That's Joseph, the son of Jacob. God gave him a vision of his future, but he was careless with it. He started making other brothers feel belittled, and he suffered for it. The Wagner wanted to kill him. But the issue of having a plan helped him. Because as he went into Pharaoh's house, he realized I'm not just a normal guy. God has work to do for me to do in the long term. So he would not agree even to sleep with Mrs. Potiphar because he has somewhere he is going. When you plan, you and with God in mind, you understand that what you are doing will honor God. So the Bible supports planning, and I'm giving 4 reasons why it supports planning. Number 1, it makes you realize how unequipped you are to reach where you feel God has called you to do. And that's very important. It forces you also to find out where you want to go. Is that where God wants you to be? So it makes you seek. Any planning person seeks the mind of God. Thirdly, which is importantly, when you plan, and you therefore become a prayer, assuming that is good English, you have become somebody who is praying, it means that you are never in shock. Because you could see the possibility of those things happening, positive and negative. When the negative ones finally happen, you are not in shock. Because it was already in your mind. And you trust God. When you saw it coming, you told God, if it happens, I believe you can help me. So you are able to take a risk, but it's a calculated risk with God in mind. So when it finally happens, you are able to tell God, yes, from the beginning I knew only you can help me. Now time to help me has come. So help you. And fourthly, when you are somebody who plans, you tend to be more committed to the thing you are doing. and therefore you are likely to get better results.
Yes. Excellent. Excellent.
So the Bible supports
yes.
planning,
Being
proactive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Looking on national issues, in a city like Nairobi, where we have a lot of traffic jams, overall the country, we always cry about drought. What would be the importance of planning in those matters?
The importance of planning is because if you don't plan, you react. By the time you are reacting, you suffer. You know, when you plan in advance, you are likely to have a cheaper time. For example, if you can see in your city, the birth rate is 4% countrywide, but maybe in town, because people come to around, it's a 10%. Then you can tell clearly, in a few years, this population will be 8 million.
Yes.
Then you can plan, how will you cope with 8 million?
Yes.
And because you thought about it, you will leave road reserves for new roads.
Yeah.
You will look for a communication system that can tackle 8 million, and you produce it in advance.
Yes.
You know, I see, for example, Thika Road, which is a pride of Kenya, the road between Thika and Nairobi. You know, we used to have only 4 lanes.
Yes.
When we saw that they are not becoming double,
Yes.
they are not 8 lanes,
Yeah.
they are 6, almost 12 lanes.
Yes.
Said, what? This road is too wide.
Yeah.
Did we know that within 5 years? Now there are traffic jams on it.
Yes.
What about if Kibaki was not an economist who could see ahead?
Yes.
In fact, some of the people that saw Thika Road, they said Kibaki is just making a road to his own home.
Yes.
They did not see the value of it because they are not looking ahead.
Yes.
So a city, a government, a church will gain out of planning for 3 reasons. Number 1, it makes it use their resources well. If you get 1 million shillings Rotary and you have no plan, you eat it all. When you have a plan, you realize, hey, 1 million is too little. I wish I could have 5 million. Because you see, your plan requires long term, requires more money than that. But when you have no plan, the 1 million sounds very, 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 very big. Secondly, when you have a plan, you are able to think clearly. What do I need to sacrifice now in order to achieve it tomorrow? What is called delayed gratification. When you have nothing to plan for, it's what the economists call MPC of 1, marginal propensity to consume of 1. That means you get 1 million shillings, you use it all. You never save anything. Saving is encouraged when you plan and you can see how things are ahead. So whether you talk about a family, or talk about a city, or talk about a nation, people who do not look far ahead, and not just the 5-year plan we have, you need to look 10 years. It's good now Kenya has the Vision 2030, which is not looking at the 5-year plans. It's trying to see how shall we be by 2030. I think it's a very, very important thing for a country and for everyone, because it reduces waste, because you can see what you have is not enough to waste, and it ensures nothing comes by surprise. You predict it in advance, so you can better prepare for it. And thirdly and importantly, it means you are able to have a better standard of living, because you are able to know where to save and where not to save.
Excellent. If planning is so good, why is it that some people don't plan?
I think the first reason is that they are fools. Because you see, if you are a fool, you don't have the capacity to think and see the wider circle. So it's a sign of foolishness to, for example, get a salary of 30,000 and then tell your wife, I'm taking you to Dar es Salaam. Because you'll be in Dar es Salaam, one room is 10,000 shillings. Within 2 nights, you are sending SMSs. We are stuck in Dar es Salaam. Is there a way you can help us back? All of that came from lack of planning. So you're asking me, why come people don't plan? Because gray matter between the gray matter is not a common denominator. It's not common. It's not, you know, people talk about common sense, but common sense is not common. It's not common. So it's the first thing you need to deal with is when you are the type of a person who doesn't plan, you just do anything that comes to your mind, please understand you are not very clever. And that's the first problem that we have. People that don't look ahead have that problem. But I think the second thing we must understand as to why people don't plan, I told you, is a belief system. If you have a belief system that talks about inshallah, if God wills, and you don't understand the totality of your scriptures that put some responsibility on you, then you don't say, you are hungry tomorrow, you say, inshallah, God wanted me to be hungry. Yet you are the one who wasted food last night. Because you did not see that you require food the following day. I think belief system can cause you not to be a planner. That belief that because God is with me, I don't have responsibility. Then you have no motivation to save. Because you see, planning will force you to save. And saving will reduce what you can buy. You have enough money to buy a Mercedes. When you plan, you realize, if I buy a Mercedes, I cannot be able to finance it. So you don't end up with a Mercedes. So it's important to understand that a belief system that puts responsibility on God and does not put the responsibility on you will cause you to fail to plan. And I need to be understood here. Like I said previously, planning requires bringing God into it. Because what's a plan? A plan is a prayer. You know very well it can't happen without God's help. So when you prepare a plan, you're asking for God's intervention. So planning is a praying thing.
Excellent, excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to go for a break. Keep forwarding your comments on our Twitter page at Leaders Dialogue Show and our Facebook page at Leaders Dialogue. We'll be right back after this.
Leader.